Hello and welcome to the BamCam Podcast with your hosts, Jack Burnett and Alison Castellano. But today, sitting in for Jack Burnett is Adrian Castellano. I'm Wendy McConnell, and hello to both of you.
Hi.
Hey, Wendy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing
doing
fantastic.
great. Yeah.
All right. So good to hear. What are we going to be talking about today?
Well, Wendy, today we're tackling one of the trickiest parts of relationships. It's money, of course.
Of course.
Of course. But here's the thing. Money is not just numbers and budgets. It's deeply emotional. I'm sure you've heard that before. It's tied to how we were raised, the messages we've absorbed, and the dreams that we're chasing. So when two people come together, you're not just merging bank accounts. You're also merging two totally different ways of life, ways of dealing with money, different mindsets. Whether you're just starting out as a couple or navigating years of shared finances, today's episode is all about navigating that approach to money.
Yeah, you're right. So money is so emotional. It's more than dollars and cents. It's more than what is in our banking account. It's more than what we spent shopping last month. It's more than the income that we bring home each month. Money is emotional. There are hopes, fears, dreams, all tied into money, a whole range of emotions. And a big part of that comes from our upbringing, like you said. And so think about the way you were raised and the messages you received around money. If you grew up in a household where money was tight, saving feels like a sense of security.
Exactly.
And others who grew up with more abundance might see money as a way to enjoy life right now.
Yeah. So there are two totally different mindsets, and neither one is wrong, of course. But now imagine combining two totally different financial mindsets in a relationship while also navigating other aspects of the relationship.
And I would say that happens more often than not, that you have two people with completely different money mindsets joining together in relationships.
Yes, from one extreme to the other, or perhaps it's not as extreme, the two mindsets, but still it's something that you have to work on to kind of find that common ground to figure out how you're going to approach life's challenges together as you pursue your relationship. That's where it can get tricky. And that's why open communication is just so important. For instance, one partner might think that saving for the future is that top priority, while the other partner may think that it's best to plan for right now, tomorrow, the next day, and go on trips or go and buy things that they can use right now. And so it's these differences that just have to be communicated with each other. Even little decisions like whether to eat at home or eat out. That's something that needs to be talked about in advance, and it can lead to tension in the relationship.
And sometimes we've even struggled with that decision. I like to eat out because I don't like to clean up the kitchen at the end of the night. But, when we sit down and we have a shared goal and we have a shared financial goal in life, we both recognize that it's probably better for our budget to eat more at home than it is to go out.
And, we've talked about this before on some of our Money Date episodes. When you set a common financial goal and then you achieve that goal, it is so incredibly rewarding.
Oh, yeah. And we'll get more into that later. But our first key takeaway here today is that understanding each other's money mindset and money story is the first step to building trust and working together in your relationship.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some challenges that we see that other couples face, or really all couples face, not just other couples.
Yeah, one of those challenges, different priorities, like we just talked about. Money priorities can vary greatly. One partner might feel anxious without an emergency fund, while the other might want to book that vacation yesterday. And what the emergency fund is can vary, of course, from one relationship to another. There's no right or wrong. It's just about finding that balance to make sure you're on the same page and figure out what works best for you and your partner.
Yeah. So sometimes, when you see that $5,000 sitting in your bank account, one person says, let's save that for our rainy day fund. And the other partner says, that's a trip we can go on.
It can be very tempting to spend that money.
Yes, it can be. Another challenge that we've seen before is the need for control. And control, if both partners want to manage finances, it can lead to power struggles. So you kind of have to figure out the dynamic of how you both share responsibility in managing the household finances. But on the flip side, if one person wants to take over completely and the other partner is left in the dark, you might feel like you're doing your partner a favor in the short term, but in the long term, you could really be doing them a disservice, especially if something really tragic were to happen to you. And I don't like to think about tragic circumstances, but you don't want to do your partner a disservice in that way if they are left completely in the dark. There's another dynamic for need for control too, where if one partner is managing all of the household finances, they're taking on all of that stress. They have this burden that's weighing them down. And if the other partner is living more carefree, not weighed down by the stress of managing the household finances, that can lead towards resentment. And we don't want that for anyone either.
Definitely not. So what are some tips that couples can take to kind of navigate these tricky waters? Tip number one, and this one's going to sound familiar to y'all if you're regular listeners, have a money date.
Yeah, this has been really helpful in our relationship.
Yeah, we schedule these regular check-ins to talk about our finances quarterly in a low pressure sort of setting. Grab some food. It doesn't have to be out at a restaurant. If you've listened to our tummy bug episode, you're well aware of that. You can eat at home, but it's just a way to talk openly about what's working, what's stressing you out, the things that you need to work on, what your common goals are, things that you want to achieve. It's a way to connect and not argue. On our money dates, we like to talk about the good, the bad, and, well, the ugly.
And sometimes it gets there.
Sometimes it does. Some are uglier than others. We always start with what's working well, and then we get into the small victories that we've had over the last quarter. We congratulate ourselves, pat ourselves on the back for those. And then we talk about the things that we need to work on or some of the other issues that have come up in the past couple of quarters. Again, it's just as important to celebrate your wins along the way as it is to acknowledge the things that you need to work on as a couple.
Yeah, that's so true. And we are big advocates of the money date. We think all couples, no matter what stage of life you're in, if you're, kind of just starting out, engaged, or if you've been married for years, money dates can be helpful for anyone.
And not only are they helpful, they're fun.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah, everyone likes to connect with their partner. Yeah. So another tip that we have is to set shared goals. So whether it's buying a house, paying down debt, or saving for a dream trip, Paris maybe, having a shared vision it gives you something to work towards together. And working towards something together is what makes being in a relationship fun. Yeah. Early in our relationship, we worked towards paying off some student loans and some car loans with the goal of our marriage starting off debt-free, except for a mortgage. And I think doing that really set us up for success in our early years of marriage.
We had no idea what was coming.
Yeah, we had no idea we were going to have a very expensive infertility journey along the way. But I can't imagine having to, because we paid cash along the way for our infertility journey. And I can't imagine paying cash for that, paying for student loans, car loans, and a mortgage. It would have been, we were already pinching pennies. I don't know that we would have been able to eat.
It was so painful seeing those bills roll in every couple of weeks from our infertility journey. We joked about it. We dreaded going to the mailbox every day because we knew that it was only a matter of time till we had another $2,000 bill that we had to pay.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to even imagine how much worse our financial situation would have been if we had not paid off some of the debts that we had early on in our relationship.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's just fun working towards those shared goals together. So dream trip, Paris, keep that in mind.
All right,
Adrian.
I'm going to remember that one. I'm going to write that one down in my notebook. Okay, how about tip number 3, share responsibility. Even if one person is better with spreadsheets or budgeting, you can't see how I'm pointing at, or maybe you can. Allison's the one there that can really get in and do that kind of stuff. But it's important that even if one person's better than the other, you are both involved in the finances. It's about being a team and ensuring no one feels left out or overwhelmed. And I know she hasn't coined the phrase, but she says it all the time. Teamwork makes the dream work. You like that one.
I do like that one. Teamwork does make the dream work. And it's fun to work as a team. What's the point of being in a partnership if you don't work as a team?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it really, like, this kind of goes back to that like challenge that we see, the need for control. Like, you don't want one partner to have their head in the sand and not understand what's going on in the household finances. You want to both work together to build the life that you want to live.
And we've said it several times already, but again, you work together, you achieve a goal, and you get a high off that. I mean, it's so exhilarating to find success in something that you've been working really hard at for a long time. And when that actually occurs, it motivates you to achieve other financial goals.
It builds those feel-good endorphins. Yes. Yeah. So feel-good endorphins are always good. Now, tip number 4, respect each other's independence. And this is a big one. We are advocates of joint accounts in a marriage. We combined our finances into joint accounts, and they can be really, really great. They simplify your finances. They allow you to work towards shared goals. But here's the thing. They require transparency and open communication to work effectively. So with joint accounts, though, each partner should still feel free and independent to spend as they normally would before they combine their finances. So talk about what works for you and your partner. If one partner is always questioning what the other partner is spending or feeling left out of financial decisions, that can, of course, lead to conflict. Joint accounts are not about control. They're about partnership, and having a plan and regularly discussing your shared finances can help you feel more connected.
Yeah. And a lot of times when you do spend some money and it's, it's a couple $100 here or wherever, usually we talk about it ahead of time. And if not, it's usually something that we've talked about before. But a lot of times it's kind of the more regular things that you do, like getting your hair done or
getting my nails done. Yeah.
Things like that. And you tend to spend more on that than I do. Yeah. That's just the way it is, I guess. But we talk about it ahead of time. And so we're not really caught off guard. It doesn't wreck our finances. And it doesn't, for us, turn into a competition where you spend $200 there. Oh, so that frees me up to spend $200 on this thing that I've been wanting. And so again, just the open communication aspect of it, I think, makes it so that we are achieving that common goal.
And honestly, if we're both honest with ourselves, I think that we spend more money on Laura than we spend on either of ourselves.
That's what it all boils down to. Yes. Yeah.
Which is probably the way it should be. But, when I was kind of putting these notes together for this podcast, I was talking about like, if I told you, hey, I need a pair of leggings from Lululemon, and you said, okay, that's great. Go spend $100 on leggings. That doesn't give me permission to go buy the whole store, which I could easily do some damage in that store. We all know that. But, if I say I need this, that's what I need. Yeah. And that's part of being, that's part of effective communication in a relationship is sharing what you need and only doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. You look good in those leggings, so I'm okay with it.
Can I get anything else?
We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Tip number 5, this is arguably the most important one that we're going to talk about today. Build an emergency fund together. It's non-negotiable.
It's
number
big.
1.
This has been
number 1.
Big in our relationship. Yeah.
This is non-negotiable. Life throws curveballs, and we've talked about many of the curveballs that we've been dealt in the last couple of years. Have a financial safety net. It can ease the stresses on both of you. Just recently, you had a car issue where you were talking about smelling something, I guess, in the garage. And so I got down, looked underneath your car. There was a big old puddle of what looked like oil. Turned out it was oil and it was leaking. And so we had to take the car in. Turned out to be over $1,000.
Yeah, it was like $1,200 repair.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, literally, it was. You told me about it in the morning. I went and looked underneath the car. That afternoon, the car was in the shop. And I think by the time we went and picked Laura up from school that day, in my car, of course, we had already been told that this was going to be a $1,200 repair. So it was the span of like 3 or 4 hours that we got this news from start to finish. And it was something that was unexpected, but thankfully we had, planned for the fact that we would have some of these curveballs pop up. We were able to at least take the sting out of it just a little bit.
Yeah. It also didn't help that happened in December when we were busy with Christmas shopping, and, December is just an expensive month. So that happened. We also recently had to purchase a new dryer. Our dryer went out, and, you have to have a dryer. You have to have dry clothes. So we had to do that. Life throws curveballs, and you never know when the curveballs are going to come flying at you.
Just last week, I was scared that we were going to have to buy a new oven. Our oven gave us an error message code, and I was like, oh no, not again. So I went and turned off the circuit breaker, put it back on, kind of restarted, reset everything. And it turned back on, worked just fine. And then we're going on almost 2 weeks now of it working okay, fingers crossed. But again, we've got that money in the emergency fund just in case we got to buy a new oven by the next time we talk to y'all.
Everyone keep their fingers crossed for that one, because we really don't want to have to buy a new oven.
And we have a fancy oven.
It is fancy. So that's why we were surprised to get an error code. Anyways. But that brings us to our second big takeaway here. Open and consistent communication about finances is the foundation of a strong financial partnership. Whether it's celebrating small victories on your money date, or setting shared goals, maintaining transparency with joint accounts, working together as a team ensures that both partners feel involved, aligned, and prepared to tackle life's surprises.
Lots of surprises.
Yeah.
Let's face it, arguments about money, they will happen.
And I don't want to say that we're all sunshine and rainbows in our life too. We have our moments, don't we?
I've never thrown, something down the ground, broken something, in our arguments. We don't have those kind of arguments.
They're not.
They're more so, what was this that you spent $200 on? And then you explain it to me, and it's a little bit just, it's communication for us, not arguments.
That was an expensive facial this month.
Yeah. But the key to approaching it here is just the understanding that if you hit a roadblock, take a step back, ask, what's the bigger goal here? What are we trying to achieve in our relationship?
Yeah. And, it can also help to bring in other tools. There are budgeting apps that can help you just get a handle on your household finances together. You can also work with a financial advisor who can be a neutral party and help you see the bigger picture and, realize that you're not working against each other. You're working with each other.
You're trying to achieve a common goal. That's the absolute end game that you're trying to achieve.
Exactly. And it's fun to do it with someone that you love.
That's what we're doing.
Yes. So that's the end of our episode. If you want to work with a financial advisor, we are two that you could choose to work with. You can reach us at info@eaterfw.com. That's ITERFW.com.
Well, thank you to both of you. You look like you have this all figured out.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that much.
We're still trying day after day.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, right?
Yes.
All right, and thank you for listening today. Please like and follow and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time, I'm Wendy McConnell.
Thank you for listening to the BamCam Podcast with Jack Burnett and Alison Castellano from Eater Financial Wellness, a financial advisory practice at RFG Advisory. To get in touch with us, visit today's show notes or go to our website at www.eaterfinancialwellness.com. That's ITERfinancialwellness.com. And please click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available.
Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. Information here may be provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither our guest nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of our guest. They do not necessarily represent those of RFG Advisory, its employees, or its clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by RFG Advisory or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives of Private Client Services, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory, LLC, RFG Advisory or RFG, a registered investment advisor. Private Client Services and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place. RFG Advisory is an SEC-registered investment advisor. SEC registration does not constitute an endorsement of RFG by the Commission, nor does it indicate that RFG or any associated investment advisory representative has attained a particular level of skill or ability.